you look at startup funding into the Indian ecosystem, what's really important is to look at it over a period of a decade. In 2010, we had less than $1 billion that went into startup funding. Right. Okay, this year we'll have, I don't know, 10 to $12 billion. So that's still a 10x increase over the last 12 years.
Right.
What happens is we only have short-term memory. So we look at 2021 and say, oh my God, we are down 70, 80%.
Right.
Actually, versus 2018, we're doing pretty well.
Okay.
Right? So what is happening is, this is the normal. This is what normal looks like. And if you look at the activity in the venture capital industry and the startup ecosystem, the seed market is very active. Right? You know, our seed platform Surge is very, very active. The Series A market is back. It's quite active. The growth market is slower than what it used to be because most of the good growth companies have already raised lots of capital in 2021 and early 2022. And the valuations are also pegged to that level, right? So as we go into the second half of this year into next year, you'll start seeing the growth markets pick up as well. So what I would say is, this is what normal looks like. You know, I've said this before, if you have a once in a 100-year summer, and then you start comparing the summer afterwards saying, oh my God, it's really cold, that's not the case, right? So we had a once in a 100-year event. Let's hope it's once in 100 years because we don't want to run the COVID for another 100 years, right? So this is what normal looks like, right? And it's a great time to build, it's a great time to invest. Now the reality is, if you don't have a high quality startup, raising capital is hard today, and it should be.
And so there is hope for early stage funding for new entrepreneurs. I mean, things would nothing but get better for them.
Look, India today, if you just look at India dedicated funds, okay, there's been over 1 lakh crore of capital that has been raised over the last 2.5 years that is now waiting to be invested. If you look at our firm, peakxv, we have 20,000 crores of what we call dry powder in the industry, right? Okay. Dry powder is capital that will be, that will be invested into companies. So India doesn't have a shortage of early stage venture capital funding. Number one. Number two, look, seed stage, right? So seed stage is, say, you're trying to raise between 5 crores to call it 30 or 40 crores. That market is actually very active, right? In fact, if you look at our firm, our seed stage platform is called Surge. We've been very active over the last 12, 18 months, in fact, throughout the period. If you look at Series A, which is, you're trying to raise between $5 and $10 million, that market is also quite active. Where we've seen a slowdown in over the last 12 months, I'd say 12 to 18 months, is in very large checks. Companies that are raising $50 to $100 million, right? There's also, again, there's a lot of capital. What has changed is the bar to raise that capital has gone up. So today, if you want to raise a growth round, if you don't have great unit economics or your burn is very high, it's very unlikely you're going to raise. However, if you have very strong unit economics and let's say you can show a path to profitability and the company is reasonably priced, and I use that term because it's very important. There's going to be ample capital, right? So that's why, every month you'll see 1 or 2 companies that raise growth rounds, but these are very high quality companies, right? So that's sort of the current state of the union, if you will.
Well put, high quality companies.
Look, this is the era of a high quality, right?
Yeah.
You have to be a high quality startup to raise. If your unit economics are not working, meaning, in our firm we say, does your math work? If your math doesn't work, you're not going to raise. But if your math looks very good, you can easily raise today.
Right. So a related question that going into 2024, which industries you feel your fund would be optimistic about? Or let me put it, the venture capital industry is optimistic about putting money in.
Yeah, so look, India's startup, so it's not really 1 or 2 sectors, right? I think the period where we used to say, this sector is really the big sector for this year in India, that period is behind us, okay? Today what you have is broad-based innovation. So India today has a twin engine innovation ecosystem, okay? One engine is focused on innovating for India, and that is across sectors, right? We're seeing extraordinary set of new consumer brands being built in beauty and personal care, in food, in fashion, in health, right? So That's just consumer brands. You look at gaming, you look at travel, right? We've made several travel investments, online travel investments over the last 3 or 4 months, right?
Yeah.
If you look at, we are here at Global FinTech Festival, you look at financial services. India today has $1 trillion consumer credit gap and $1 trillion SME credit gap, right? The Global FinTech Festival is gigantic and it keeps doubling every year, right? This is the GFF law. It doubles every year, right? So, so that is the domestic innovation engine. So it's a twin engine innovation domestic. The other one is Indian innovators innovating for the world. In 2022, 40% of Indian startups that raise seed funding between 5 crores and 40 crores, right, per investment, were building for the world from day zero. 40%. 40%. So Indian entrepreneurs today are innovating for India across every sector that's imaginable, but also, Indian innovators are building for the world from day zero. So we have this twin engine innovation ecosystem today that is just firing. And this is a phenomenal thing.
Wonderful. If you have to give a synopsis for peak15 in 2023, what would you like to say? Generally speaking, how have your investments been? How the climate been?
So first thing about peak15 is we did a big rebrand of our firm.
Yeah.
We used to be Sequoia Capital India, so that was probably the single biggest thing that we did. In early June, we rebranded our firm from Sequoia Capital India in Southeast Asia to peak15. In terms of, if you look at our investments, what I can tell you is what I started with. There's never been a better time to invest in India. And there's also never been a better time to build. So we continue to be very active. As I said, we have over 20,000 crores of dry powder. We see opportunity in many different sectors, right? From AI, from software for the world, from India, from consumer products, from gaming, from travel, from financial services and fintech, which is sort of what we're talking about at this conference, as well as Indian entrepreneurs building for the world, right? So software companies. Let's take, one sector we haven't talked about is manufacturing. Right? Manufacturing is now beginning to boom, and what we're also seeing is very interesting companies that are using IP-based or process, like new innovative processes to manufacture products at either a significantly lower cost or significantly better quality. So today we're seeing innovation everywhere in India. So we couldn't be more excited about the startup ecosystem in India.
All right. And if you have to quantify, kind of give an estimate about by the end of the year, venture capital investments in India in 2023 and quantify 2024, how would you put that?
So, if I was in the business of forecasting, I'd be in a different role. I am at peak15 as venture capital, our partners and our teams at peak15, we're only focused on one thing, which is find extraordinary entrepreneurs who are building amazing companies and become their partners. Ideally, earlier the better, but we partner at seed stage, we partner at Series A, we partner at growth stage, right? So that's really what we are focused on. So I can't tell you the forecast because I'm not a forecasting business, but as I told you, there's really never been a better time to invest.